This presentation on Second Lieutenant Norman W. Hanson, World War II prisoner of war, and one of Presque Isle's first civilian air traffic controllers, is brought to you by Presque Isle Air Museum. Norman Wesley Hanson was born on July 23, 1924, in Mars Hill, Maine, the son of Fred Chester Hanson and Pansy D. Shaw. His brother, Richard Hanson, went to school with Nate Grass, one of the founders of and former board chairman of Presque Isle Air Museum. There are still several families with the last name of Hanson, spelled with an O, in Aroostook County. On October 25, 1945, he married Mary Bishop in Fort Fairfield. Together, they had 3 children. After his military service, Norman was one of the first civilian air traffic controllers at Presque Isle. He was employed by Northeast Airlines. Norman passed away on March 20, 2000, in Lexington, Kentucky. During World War II, Hanson was assigned to the 751st Bombardment Squadron of the 457th Bombardment Group. The group was activated on July 1, 1943, and was stationed at Ephrata Army Airfield in the state of Washington, and then sent to Rapid City, South Dakota. Training was also done in Wendover, Utah, and Grand Island, Nebraska. The group flew B-17Gs. Ultimately, the aircraft of the 457th Bomb Group was sent to Glatton in the British Isles, arriving between January 21st and February 1st, 1944. The group entered combat during the Big Week in February of 1944. By the end of 44, the group had flown 166 missions. Its last mission was flown on April 20th, 1945. On June 4, 1945, the group's aircraft began flying back to the U.S., and on August 28, 1945, the 457th Bombardment Group was disbanded. The 457th Bomb Group flew the B-17G model. The B-17G was an improved version of the B-17. The B-17 lacked adequate defense from head-on attacks. As a result, by September 1943, the shape was modified with a chin turret. In addition, with this newer body model, the number of guns was increased from 7 to 13, and other adjustments were made as well. In total, 8,680 of the B-17G were built, with the last 28 coming off the assembly line in July of 1943. The specs for Model B-17G included 13.5 caliber machine guns with a normal bomb load of 6,000 pounds, 4 Wright Cyclone R-1820 engines of 1,200 horsepower each. The maximum speed was 300 miles per hour, while the cruise speed was 170 miles per hour. The range was 1,850 miles with a ceiling of 35,000 feet. The span of the aircraft was 103 feet and 10 inches with a length of 74 feet 4 inches and a height of 19 feet 1 inch. Its nickname was the Flying Fortress. This is the aircraft in which Lieutenant Hanson flew. It was known as Miss Q. And you can see, based on the little depictions of the bombs in the upper center of the photo, that this particular aircraft flew 37 missions. Mission 154 was on November 30th, 1944, and the target was a synthetic oil refinery at Bohlen, Germany. The first run was made, but because of the smoke and haze, the target could not be identified, and a second run had to be attempted. On the second run, things did not go smoothly. You can see on the mission board shown at the bottom, for this particular mission, the date was November 30th with the destination of Bohlen. The altitude is shown there, as well as the base-to-base mileage of 1,222 miles. It also shows average gas consumption, gas load, the position flown, and it tells you the results of this mission were poor. The pilot, Lieutenant Joseph C. Frechette, gave an eyewitness account of the mission from the bomb run until the abandonment of Miss Q. We were flying in the rear of the high box and were making our first bomb run when we were hit by heavy flak, which knocked out our number 3 and 4 engines. We fortunately were able to feather them. The plane off our right wing, which turned out to be Hamtramck Mama, flown by Lieutenant John White, was also hit and appeared to burst into flames and dove out of formation. We continued on our bomb run, losing a little airspeed and altitude, but were able to stay near enough in formation to make the second bomb run and dropped our bombs when the rest of the group dropped theirs. We immediately turned toward the west to return to Allied lines. We jettisoned all the weight we could, including the ball turret, and continued on slowly losing altitude and some airspeed as our number 2 engine was losing oil. Our number 2 engine finally froze up, and we bailed out in the clouds between 1,200 and 1,500 feet. Our plane crashed within view of my landing area. The crash location was 10 kilometers south of Koblenz, Germany, and 1 kilometer southeast of Kasdorf, Germany. Our engineer, Granville Billingsley, was the first airman out of the aircraft and escaped capture for 8 days. Sergeant Ward Price was killed when his parachute failed to open. All other crew members were quickly captured by German civilians and soldiers and were prisoners of war for the remainder of the war, along with Billingsley in Stalag Luft 1. The crew was taken to Stalag Luft 1, a German prisoner of war camp for captured Allied airmen near Barth in the western Pomeranian area of Germany. Men from the US, Britain, and Canada were imprisoned there, a total of about 9,000 men, of which 7,588 were American. Hanson and the other surviving members of his crew were there from the end of November 1944 until the camp was liberated by Russian troops on April 30th, 1945. Well, in actuality, an American officer had to threaten to shoot the Russian troop commander in order to free the Americans. The barracks were rough wood frame structures on small foundation posts, 8 to 10 inches off the ground, to allow guard dogs to search under the buildings for tunnels. Sometimes the German guards would crawl underneath as well to listen to the prisoners' conversations. The guardhouse was manned by at least one person with a machine gun, and a spotlight was on the corner of the guardhouse. This photo gives you a panoramic view of the camp looking north. Despite the dogs and guards crawling under the barracks, a total of 140 tunnels were dug at the camp. In addition, there was a hidden camera used to take photos and make fake passes, as well as a hidden radio. There was also an escape committee composed of senior camp officers who approved all submitted escape plans. Some of the interesting prisoners that accompanied Lieutenant Hanson in Stalag Luft 1 included Roberta Cowell, an RAF fighter pilot, and later the first British person to undergo sex reassignment surgery. Donald Pleasance, the actor. Brad Buster Slavin, a child actor and later a pilot for Western Airlines. And Don Widmark, brother of Hollywood actor Richard Widmark. The Air Medal is a military decoration of the United States Armed Forces. It was created on May 11, 1942, by Executive Order 9158 as signed by President Franklin Roosevelt. The medal is awarded for single acts of heroism or meritorious achievement while serving in the armed forces in aerial flight. The original award criteria set by military policy is threefold. Per each naval vessel or 3 enemy aircraft in flight confirmed destroyed, or per 25 operational flights during which exposure to enemy fire is expected, or per 100 operational flights during which exposure to enemy fire is not expected. According to the mission symbols on the side of Miss Q, the B-17G, for which 2nd Lieutenant Hanson was the co-pilot, flew over 30 missions. The medal consists of a bronze compass rose 1 11/16 inches in diameter, with an eagle carrying 2 lightning flashes in its talons. A fleur-de-lis at the top points to the suspension ring. The recipient's name is engraved on the back. The ribbon is 1 3/8 inches wide, with an 1/8-inch ultramarine blue stripe on each of the outer edges, 1/4-inch golden orange stripes inside both of the outer blue stripes, and a center 5/8-inch ultramarine blue strip. The medal also came with a lapel button. It was designed by Walker Hancock, who had competed for the medal design as a civilian, but was inducted into the U.S. Army prior to the award of the competition. Seen here are Lieutenant Hanson's wings, his honorable discharge pin, and his dog tag. The Presque Isle Air Museum is located at the south end of the passenger terminal of Presque Isle International Airport. The airport and the museum are located at 650 Airport Drive in Presque Isle. The museum is open whenever the passenger terminal is open. We hope you enjoyed this presentation on Lieutenant Norman Hanson, as brought to you by Presque Isle Air Museum.